So Bill Jr., you have some union stuff, draft stuff you want to talk about. Take it away.
Yeah, so I had two things I wanted to bring up. Originally, we were just going to do best draft class ever, like top 5, top 10 draft classes, whatever years that came out to be. But I'm like, wait a minute, there's another topic we can talk about here too, and that is the best ever drafts by a team. So we'll get draft classes by year, and then the best draft classes by team at the end of it. So I couldn't talk about one without talking about the other. So
makes sense.
To start off with number 5 for best draft class ever, I actually had 1995 draft, which comprised of Kerry Wood, Roy Halladay, Todd Helton, Darren Erstad, Carlos Beltran, Sean Casey, Dempster, A.J. Burnett, and Mike Lowe. Wow. That's my number 5. I don't know if anybody else has anything for the number 5.
No, I didn't do any research on this. I can tell you that I love Darren Erstad a lot, and he was I think he was an All-American punter in North Dakota State or something like that. That's pretty cool.
I think he was on the was he on the championship team for Nebraska as their punter?
Maybe it was Nebraska. It might have been Nebraska.
I think he won a national championship, and then he was drafted a few months later.
He was great. I was a fan. I was in Southern California at the time. I was a fan of that. That's cool. Good stuff. What a draft class. My goodness. Kerry Wood, 20 Ks. Woo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I think this could differ between my dads because when you get down past 4, there's really a lot of good competition, but then you'll see why there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 here in a second. But I'm going to let my dad go with who he has for 5.
Number 5 that I came up with, I mean, this is kind of a newer draft class. It was 2005. They had a ton, and these are all first rounders. You got Justin Upton, Alex Gordon, who plays with Kansas City. At least he did. I'm not sure if he is now. Ryan Zimmerman plays for the Nationals. You got Ryan Braun, Troy Tulowitzki, Andrew McCutcheon, Jay Bruce, Jacoby Ellsbury, and Matt Garza. That's a hell of a first-round class in 1 year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy for all those guys to be in the first round. I mean, if you look throughout the history of the draft since it was, 65 is when it started?
Yeah.
It's so spread out. Like Mike Piazza was the last overall pick. You know what I mean? And like spread out between the 40 rounds, and it's just crazy that all those guys were in the first round. I mean, with that being said, I'll get into my number 4 here, which is the 1975 class that had Harold Baines, Paul Molitor, Bob Welch, Tim Raines, Ozzie Billy Davis. Now this was a great year for nicknames. You had the Wizard, the Igniter, and the Rock group. And it was just a great year to come out of the MLB draft. I think that it started getting real popular and a lot bigger is because of years like this, just how much talent they got out of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was now you got three. You got 3 Hall of Famers in that draft class as of right now with Baines, Molitor, and Tim Raines. So pretty much every one of our top 4 that remaining, we have at least 3 Hall of Famers in each one of these draft classes.
The Sure Nut says Major League Baseball shortening the draft or something. I think there are. Well, there's one team that in one draft that I'm thinking of drafted 3 Hall of Famers
in the same year.
Well, yep. I know what you're talking about.
Okay. The way after I said it, I'm like, well, maybe I'm wrong, but okay, there you go. I'll wait for it.
Yep. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that when I get into my next list, which is like the top 10 drafts by any team ever.
It's a crazy story. Stick around, people.
Before you move on there, we just had a question in chat. It says, isn't MLB shortening the draft or something? Yeah, they're going down from, what is it, normally 40 rounds, and they're going down to 5 rounds this year. So it's definitely going to be a shortened draft this year.
Yeah, it's crazy, too, when you think about, like, the college kids, because where they ended up last season, that's like their slot because they didn't really have a year. They only played like 2-3 weeks this year, and as long as they didn't get hurt or show any crazy signs of degradation, and you're good to go. But like I was saying in previous episodes, that you can't work your butt off in your senior year or junior year and get up on the board. It's kind of pretty terrible for that aspect. But I'll keep going.
Board to get on. I mean, 5 rounds.
Yeah. I know. It's 5 rounds as opposed to 40, like Mike Piazza was the last pick, all because he was godson. It was a a pick just because of who we knew. That was
a favor, isn't that crazy?
And look how he turned out. Yep,
worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it definitely did.
That'll definitely be the lowest Hall of Famer ever. Lowest pick making it to the Hall.
Probably.
Yeah. All right, so we got 1985 draft classes, number 3, and you had Will Clark, Barry Larkin, Barry Bonds, Walt Weiss, Rafael Palmeiro, Randy Johnson, David Justice, John Small, Mark Grace. This class is like a crazy list of guys' names. Like, you got Bonds, Randy Johnson, John Smoltz, and then the other, Barry Larkin. It's crazy that all these guys were drafted in the same year and how they ended up turning out.
Now, there's
was that 85?
Yeah, 85. There's 3 Hall of Famers in this class, but technically, if you look at it, there's 5 Hall of Famers in there. One should definitely be in, and Palmeiro, yeah. So.
Oh yeah, Palmeiro, yeah.
Yeah.
Palmeiro and Will both on the same college team. Well, with Thigpen, probably Thigpen.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was a good year.
Oh yeah, definitely. So moving on to number 2 on this list is the 1973 draft class, which was Dave Winfield, Fred Lynn, and Eddie Murray. That's just like, 3 Hall of Famers right there. Other accomplishments. That's enough said about that class.
Winfield was drafted by pretty much every league, including ping pong, right? And he was drafted by 2 basketball.
Basketball. Did he get drafted in football also? Or was it just basketball?
Pretty sure it was baseball, football, basketball. I think it was the ABA and the NBA. I wouldn't here. I'll look it up. You guys.
Yeah, I know he was a hell of an athlete.
Saying it, I feel like I'm like. Yeah.
All right, so when Jeff looks up the Dave Winfield factoid, my number 1, which is the 1971 draft class. Frank Tanana, Jim Rice, Rick Rhoden, George Brett, Ron Guidry, Mike Schmidt, and Keith Hernandez.
Wow.
Another class with 3 Hall of Famers. I mean, those names are just incredible. Like, and then you talk about the Dodgers in that era, which I will here shortly, but it's just incredible that how, man, 1971, that was a great year for baseball for sure. I was alive to see it. That's another thing that I wish I saw more of these things happen live. I know my dad's got thousands of stories. I could ask him where he was, what he was doing when he watched this game that we used to watch on the MLB network. That was an old replay. He's like, I know exactly what's going on. That's this guy. He ends up going doing this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'll get there someday.
Rhoden, was he drafted by the Dodgers, Jeff? Or I know he played for the Dodgers at one time, didn't he, Rick Rhoden?
Yeah, he played for the Dodgers. I couldn't swear if he was drafted there or not. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, that's
you guys want to see want to hear the Winfield fact?
Yeah, well-rounded class with hitters and pitching.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Rick Rhoden's still golfing at a high level too. Amazing guy.
Yeah.
Dave Winfield. Following college, Winfield was drafted by 4 teams in 3 different sports. Padres selected him as a pitcher. It's the 4th overall pick in the Major League Draft. Boy, did he have a gun, too. And the Hawks and the Stars, the Hawks NBA, the Stars, the ABA, Utah Stars. And he never played college football, but the Vikings selected him in the 17th round of the draft anyway. That's insane.
That's insane right there. That's definitely nuts.
Yeah, I'm not going to play college football, but I'm going to get drafted. Whatever. And again, he got drafted in baseball as a pitcher. He's a right fielder, man.
Yeah.
Right fielder. Power hitting right fielder.
How would you like to have been his agent back then? Yeah. Where do you want to go, Mr. Winfield?
Anywhere I want is the answer, yeah.
Yeah.
He signed that one of the first big contracts. I remember he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, him and a million others, but it was because of him, because it was how the draft was changing. And, now it's chump change. But at the time, he left San Diego to go to New York, and it was like big money.
Yeah.
What a great career. Loved him. Anyway, all right, so where are we at?
All right, so now I'm into my best draft single team. So this is a 10-team list, excuse me. And first one is 2009 with the Angels, and that's the year that he got drafted. That was his senior year of high school. He got drafted number 25th overall. He's now coming off his 3rd, and he's been obviously the best player in baseball for years now. Also was drafted by the Angels that year is Patrick Corbin, who went in the second. He's still going. And the Angels signed 3 other significant big leaguers who, ran number 24. He went right before Trout. That was what my dad was talking about with the signing bonus deal and stuff with that. And then Garrett Richards was taken in a supplemental first. And Tyler Skaggs was also taken in the supplemental first. So,
wow, that's a good draft.
That's a pretty good draft class right there. The 09 Angels.
Yeah. I mean, that's a 1/5 of an entire roster. That's pretty good. That's amazing.
Yeah, they
good stuff.
Made a pretty one for sure, especially taking Trout 25th as opposed to 24th.
Yeah, yeah. If you pick Trout, you had a good draft. It doesn't really matter. You can go home really when you
exactly. All right. Number list is the 65 Athletics.
Oh, so I know one. I know the top name.
They destroyed the first 3 years of the draft, building their entire foundation and won 3 consecutive from 72 to 74. In the very first draft, they signed 3 future All-Stars in the outfield, being Rick Monday, number 1 overall, third baseman Sal Bailey was taken in the 6th round, and he just teamed up with how do you say this? Gene Tennis. Tennis. Okay, he teamed up with Gene Tennis to win the College World Series for Arizona State the year prior. He was taken in the 11th round. So that's another one. That's a crazy year, especially being like the first year of the draft, coming right out of the gate and picking up 3 All-Stars.
Love it.
All right, so number 8, 1990 Yankees. Now this is another draft class. When I start saying these names, you're like, wow, these guys in the same year. Yeah, they really did. So no team ever used to, have the draft and follow rule, which clubs used to control the rights of players who attended junior colleges. The New York Yankees did that very well in 1990. They selected left-hander Andy Pettitte in the 22nd round and Calhoun Community College shortstop Jorge Posada in the 24th, then signed them following spring for a combined $115,000. So you take Andy Pettitte and Jorge Posada, you pay just over 6 figures for both. That's crazy. They took Carl Everett in the first round, number 10 overall, in 2 All-Star games, while fellow prep outfielder Ricky, probably going to say this wrong, Ricky Leday? Yeah, Ricky Leday, that's it.
Leday.
And Shane
Leday,
Spencer.
sure.
Spencer was taken in the 28th round. They had a pair of World Series championships with the Yankees, and New York ended up signing a total of 12 big leaguers in that draft, which is more than any other team on the entire list.
Well, that's half of a major league roster. That's crazy. Wow. Very cool. Bunch of cool names right there, too. I remember. Yeah. Shane Spencer had a good little run there. Good stuff.
It took me a while, but then after I said it, I'm like, yeah, it's Ricky Leday. I couldn't remember how it was spelled. That's why I was I'm like, oh, yeah, Leday. Got it.
And
all right, so number 7 on this list.
That's not a Pettitte.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Number 7 on this list is 1989 Cleveland. So the scouting director at the time was Chet Montgomery. He was dismissed after the draft because he took Texas outfielder Calvin Murray 11th overall. He was unaware that Murray had in minor league or major league scouting bureau. He had no intention of signing, period. Montgomery deserved a raise, though, after selecting and signing 10 future big leaguers, including Hall of Famer round, which was Illinois Central Junior College shortstop Jim Thome, and 2-time All-Star in the 17th, California prep outfielder Brian Giles. And then he ended up selecting 4 pitchers who had lengthy careers on top of those 2, which was Virginia Commonwealth's lefty Jaron DePato, taken in the 3rd round, Washington High School's lefty Alan Embry, and Louisiana State right-hander Curtis Lescott was taken in the 8th round. And then top it off with Robert Person in the 25th. So he busted with the 11th overall pick, but then he made up for it in the later rounds.
But he got fired anyway. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and then he got fired. But it kind of.
So I wonder how much some of it's just luck, right? I mean, when you're down in rounds 20 to 25, everybody knows the same stuff, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe not back then, but nowadays everybody knows everything about everybody. But it's still pretty cool. I love hearing this stuff. I love the draft. Cool.
What else? You're right with most of it being luck, because you got to figure the type of person this guy is going into this system, meeting and teaming up with other guys that influence him his players, and then going to the next level, and then that
Coaches,
coach that influenced him,
opportunity.
Coaches. Exactly. So it's all just kind of like luck, situation, and circumstance, really, with his unfold.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, what do we got?
I mean,
next?
Look, Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso is a superstar. Pete Alonso wasn't their major first base prospect. The year before Pete Alonso became a superstar, Dominic Smith was the big first base prospect for the Mets, and now it's Dominic who? Pete Alonso is a superstar. So a lot of it is unknowable. Let's put it that way. Unknowable. I mean, they're all studs. Who's going to break out? It's hard to know. I mean, Trout was picked by the Angels, and they had 2 picks in a row, and he wasn't even the first one. I mean, obviously, you had to pick one versus the other. I mean, it's crazy. Like every team, even the Angels didn't pick him first the year the Angels picked him. That's nuts.
Yeah, and if the Angels didn't pick him, he was definitely going to the Yankees. He was up at Yankee Stadium the day before the draft doing a workout for the Yankees.
I don't even want to think about that. That would be horrible.
It really would be. Oh, man.
What else? You got one more?
Oh, yeah, I got 6 more.
Oh, okay, there you go. 6 more. Let's do it.
So number 6 on the list is the 19 Pirates. They did make 56 picks that year, but they essentially came with one of the most useful players in 1985. He's arguably the great draft era, and that's Arizona State outfielder Barry Bonds. He lasted a total of 6 picks in a loaded June crop and playing every day for the Pirates less than a year after he signed. He launched his career, which he put up a 162.8 WAR, which is more than all but 3 entire teams drafts in history, which is that stat is insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then the Pirates' second best find of the year was McMahon right-hander Bill Sampson in the 12th round. So they did pretty well that year too, I'd say. And everybody knows how Barry turned out. And yeah.
The guy who drafted Babe Ruth did fine. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, the guy who signed Babe Ruth. Yeah, he did all right. What have you done for me lately?
Actually, the guy who did that traded him for a bankruptcy that he was about to have. But that's a whole other story. But anyway, all right, number 5. Let's do it.
5 is the 1984 Cubs. Now, this is a pair of legendary pitchers coming out of this one, and they ended up with 624 combined victories, which is like nobody's ever come close to that being combined.
I know one,
and
but
it's
I don't
know. Nevada High School right-hander Greg Maddox.
Sure.
That's the one you probably knew. And then St. Joseph's lefty, Jamie Moyer. He came in.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. He went to the Phillies. He was Phillies and Mariners, but yeah, he did start.
Yeah, he was
come on.
The Cubs.
He played for everybody. Matter of fact, he played for everybody twice, I think. Is he still playing? I think he's 85 years old and he's still pitching, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he probably is.
I don't know what his WAR was.
He was a guy, though, that he loved the fans. Like, if he wasn't pitching that day, he would just start by the foul pole before the game even started and just talk to everybody, sign autographs all the way down to the dugout. And if he was pitching,
I've heard that.
He had his own different routine. But every game
he was pitching,
he was signing autographs.
A good buddy of mine was like Jamie Moyer's favorite. Had to be his fan club guy. Like I don't know. I don't know if he met him or what. He would draft him in our fantasy league every year. It didn't even matter if he was didn't matter. He was gonna take a slot no matter what. I think he even drafted him the year after he retired. Like he loved Jamie Moyer that much. And I hear he's a good guy, but I don't know. But he certainly pitched a lot.
Yeah, he was one of my favorites when he pitched for the Phillies when I was doing the photography. He would, if he wasn't pitching, a lot of times he'd come down into the photographer's well at the end of the dugout, and once in a while he'd grab our cameras and start taking pictures. And
that's cool.
He was a really nice guy.
I'd love to hear, I like to talk to any ball player, but he played in the major leagues. But somebody like that, he played through 2 full Major League Baseball generations. Let's be real. I bet he's got some stories. So if you know him well, get him on the show. Well.
Yeah, I don't know him well, but yeah, he was a nice guy. He did graduate high school the same year I did, though, outside of Philadelphia, and then he went on to play at St. Joe's.
Nice. All right, what number? Wait, number 4? I don't know. I'm not a good counter.
Yeah, we got to get the trivia here too. 4.
Yeah, it's very true. All right, so I'll make these last 4 go quick. It'll probably start making a lot of sense as I get up to number 1.
You can tell by my face that I'm serious about trivia tonight. So he's probably trying to delay it.
Oh yeah, I'm just trying to push it to the right here. We'll run out of time, and you'll hear the clacker come down. All right, so number 4 on the list, 1976 Boston Red Sox. They found a pair of quality left-handers, Utah high schooler Bruce Hurst, number 22 overall, and Georgia Southern's Josh Tudor, 3rd round of the January secondary draft.
Oh, John Tudor. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But it was the 7th rounder who elevated this whole draft class for them to the next level. It was Florida Prep shortstop Wade Boggs.
Oh, nice. Shortstop. Wow.
Yep.
Surprises me to think he was a shortstop, but there you go.
Yeah. I said he lacked power, speed, and athleticism, but 5 batting titles in the Hall of Fame. You can't really
all the chicken and all the batting titles, right?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
He was the American League Tony Gwynn.
That's definitely one of those guys where you can't scout the human effect, like how they are going to be. Like, you know what I mean? You can't scout them as a human. You can only scout their tools. So he
he's one of the guys I loved watching the hit. He made me, like, I didn't have a lot of power. He made me feel like, I can do what he's doing. I mean, obviously I couldn't, but he didn't look like, Barry Bonds up there. He was doing something that I could never do. It looked like I could do what Wade Boggs is doing. Obviously not really, but I loved him.
It looked like he was putting a lot of effort, but he wasn't.
Oh, he knew what he was doing. He did. I loved him. I loved him. Good stuff. Charlie Lau stuff. Good stuff.
All right, number 3, the 1986 Detroit Tigers. They had the number 2 pick that year, but they didn't really get anything out of him. There was a guy named Pat Underwood. But it really made up for it after his pick. They got him all in the 2nd round. They got Brigham Young right-hander Jack Morris in the 5th round of the June draft. They got Steve Kemp, number 1 overall in the January draft. And so they could have gotten Ozzie Smith in the 7th round of the June draft, but he turned down the $10,000 signing bonus they offered him.
They drafted him. He didn't sign.
Turned out. Yeah.
Right.
We don't know how that turned out, but yeah, exactly. He $10,000 signing bonus.
Yeah, he was all right.
he was pretty good. I mean, I think we talked about him before. He turned out pretty good.
One of the greats ever. Yep.
Oh yeah. All right, number 2.
But wait a minute. They also drafted. Wait. The Tigers that year drafted Dan Petrie. He was a stud.
Yep. So they got Dan Petrie in the 4th round in June.
So Trammell, Petrie, Morris, and Ozzie Smith. They actually drafted 2 Hall of Fame shortstops in the same draft.
It's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. Unbelievable. Anyway, good stuff.
About what we were talking about before, if they both got drafted and were in the system together.
Well, and they had Whitaker, I think. Wasn't Whitaker the year before in the draft? I wouldn't swear to that. But I think Whitaker was 1 year. Regardless, they had Whitaker in that system too, who many think is a Hall of Famer. Certainly he's right on the line.
Yeah.
Like, what would you do? You put Sweet Lou at 3rd, you put Trammell at 3rd, you don't put Ozzie at 3rd.
That was a good problem to have.
Right?
Yeah.
Just throw a ground ball. Just keep it down, people.
Bring Jeff Bates in to pitch. Right? Pitch to contact.
I can throw to contact, baby. I'm telling you.
You can have a no-hitter on that team.
Dole.
Oh, man.
I would have to wear a helmet, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, crap.
That's good stuff. Was that number 2?
That was 3. We're on to 2 now.
So there's 2 more? Okay, I can't wait. That's crazy.
So, 1983 Boston Red Sox come in at number 2. Drafted Texas right-hander Roger Clemens.
Sure.
He was the best college pitcher available entering that spring, obviously, but he struggled in May and wound up being 7th selected, being the 7th pitcher, 19 overall in June. Boston signed Boston signed leaguers from their drafts that year, but Clemens and Ellis Burks, number 20th overall in January, combined for 189 WAR by themselves. So 2 people, 189 above replacement.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Wow,
I think you're going to like
of all time. And I'm pretty sure I know who it is.
I'm pretty sure you know who it is.
I feel like we might have seen some highlights of some of them.
Yeah. We definitely did, and that's for sure. Watching that before, I'm like, oh, this is a great little intro video for the countdown before we start talking about the draft classes. So
I have no idea who could it be.
The 1968 draft. So they signed 6 future All-Stars who would 23 All-Star Game appearances. Both of them are draft records. Washburn outfielder Davey Lopes was second rounder in the January secondary phase, while California's high school first baseman Bill Buckner, taken in the second round, and University of Houston's outfitter / defensive back Tom. How do you say this, Jeff? Tom Paciorek? Is that how you say it?
Tom Paciorek.
Paciorek? Okay. I
He's better known for being Hawk Harrelson's buddy on the White Sox. Hawk called him Wimpy as a announcer. That's how people know him better.
Wimpy? Mm-hmm. Now, here's some more names for you, Jeff. And then they sign Alabama prep right-hander Doyle Alexander, 9th.
Yep.
9th round. Part of
known best for being traded for John Smoltz.
Oh, yeah. There you go. And then the cherry on top was a pair of college third basemen in the June secondary phase, which is Michigan State's Steve Garvey and Washington State's Ronce was taken in the third round of the secondary phase in June. So that's crazy. That's crazy. And then they got on in the 5th in January secondary. And then they took Bobby Valentine, number 5th overall. And Joe Ferguson, 8th in June. It's like insane. Like they had a total of 11 future big leaguers who combined for a total of 228 wins above replacement, which is like that record. I don't know if it'll be hit. That's one of those almost unbreakables.
They drafted a World Series winner in 1 year.
They did.
Yep.
They got to the World Series in 74, 77, 78, and 81 because of that draft. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. Crazy. I mean, Bill Buckner, first baseman. Steve Garvey, third baseman that turns into a first baseman. Ron Say, third baseman. That's amazing that they all worked. And we didn't even talk about Jeff Zahn or Dave Goltz. And there's so many. That draft was unbelievable. I mean, Joe Ferguson was great. Yeah. He was great. Tom Paciorek was above average major leaguer for years. That is such an amazing draft. Ron Say, Davey Lopes, and Steve Garvey.
Yeah.
Ron Say, Davey Lopes, and Steve Garvey, 3/4 of one of the longest tenured infields ever, all in that draft. That's nuts.
Only on the Dodgers could you have Popeye and a Penguin in the same infield.
All right. Well, Ron Say, like just watching the highlights, watching him run around his home run trot, makes me happy. Like it does. It reminds me of my childhood. And my 77 baseball, my 1977 Dodgers are my favorite team. That's the whole draft. It's all of it. Like 3/4 of that infield that played together for how many years in a row? That's just amazing. Whoever was in charge of that draft should be in the Hall of Fame.
Now, who was their shortstop at that time? Was it Russell? Was he
Russell in the Yeah, that's a fun group of players to collect, and I do. The Billy Russell rookie card is 71. I think Lopes is a 74. Ron Say's actually on the Mike Schmidt rookie card, and obviously Steve Garvey's got the 71, but the Bill Russell's 70. I think I said 71. Garvey being a 71, but his best card 72. All classic cards in my lifetime. Like
I have that. I have that rookie card. And I'm glad Ron Say's on it because he puts the value in that card.
It's like the 77 set. They've got the one with you've got Alan Trammell and Paul Molitor on the same rookie card. Actually, Ron Say is on 2 rookie cards. It's on is it the 72-73 or the 73-74? I think he's on the Schmidt rookie card, even though it's not his first rookie card. I might have that wrong, but that's pretty crazy. But little baseball card. But yeah, that draft is. I mean, think about it. The Tigers drafted 2 Hall of Fame shortstops. Oh, and another Hall of Fame pitcher in the same draft. And we're not saying they're number 1. And I would agree, by the way. Now I'm a Dodgers fan, but wow. The Hall of Famers, though.
We'll switch over that to you there for your Dodgers being number 1, Dodger Stadium.
This is like Dodger night. You guys, did you just know I was grumpy today? You guys just trying to make me feel better because it's working.
Yeah, I got a hankering for a Dodger dog now.
Let's do it. My daughter grilled up a hot dog for dinner, and I'm like, where's mine? My wife's like, I didn't cook it. I'm like, well, tell me where the hot dogs are. Oh, that was the last one. Thanks a lot. Smelled up the house all like a baseball. It was great. It was great. All right, I think that's it. Have we done enough damage tonight? Don't forget the podcast, Bush League Baseball, where you find podcasts. Is that right, Bill?
Yep.
Senior?
Anchor and Spotify, and I just got notified today of a couple smaller podcast apps. I forget what they are offhand, but in the next week or two, we'll be on Apple Podcast.
Love it. Movie Mania, Nick, Tim Pruitt, the Sure Nuts. Kay was here. Everybody was here in Ninja Mode. And there's definitely more numbers than chatter, so I see you. I see you, and I'm glad you're here. Have the best day ever. Be safe out there. The world's crazy. Fear strikes out all the time. Ooh, Jimmy Purcell.
Oh, there you go.
Anybody catch it? Anybody get it? All right, never mind. Have the best week ever. Be safe. Talk to you soon. See ya.